Jim and Will. What have they been watching lately? They're husky, hairy, huggable homos. Movie Bears Podcast.
Hello all and welcome to episode 532 of the Movie Bears Podcast. We've been away for a few weeks on a bit of a summer travel hiatus. Will's had some trips. We've had some trips. All kinds of crazy life has been happening, but we're super jazzed. We're super excited to be back in the saddle with y'all. And since it's been a hot minute since we've done our thing, we've got a whole episode for you devoted to catching up with the films that we have had time to see over the last few weeks. So we're going to be rocking through those and sharing our thoughts. But of course, as always, we want to hear your thoughts too. So feel free to jump into that live chat while we're live streaming. And if it's not live, then jump on into the comments, share your thoughts too. We read and reply to those. But listen, before we can get into any of the fun films that we're going to talk about, let me bring my wonderful co-hosts on. We've got the delightful, delectable Jim Pugliafico on the show as usual with us. Hey, sweetheart, how you doing?
I've been better, but in terms of like being here, I'm super glad to be here. I'm a little bit under the weather, so my voice may sound kind of weird, congested, gunky, but I'm so excited to be here because it's been, feels like such a long
few
time.
Weeks. I know. Yeah.
Movie releases are coming fast, fast this time of
Say
year.
It. They're coming fast and what?
Fast and furious. Faster than an F1 car. No, but yeah, so there's been tons of movie releases, and I honestly can't tell you without going back and looking like what's the last one we actually talked about and which ones we haven't talked about. So but that's what this show's for, right? We're going to catch up on a whole bunch of movies that we saw, and hopefully we like them. And I don't know. I tend to pick the ones that I liked the most, and go from there because I want to recommend movies be seen. So, but I'm just happy to be here talking about movies with you guys again.
All right. Well, glad to have you here with us, and I know you've got those sniffles, so you might be using the mute button a lot. No worries if you got to sneeze or anything, but I hope you feel better. And
yeah,
maybe the cat in the background will keep you a little company. Cora is about to scratch your wall hanging, babe.
I don't know if anyone's called me a mouth breather before, but I'll be mouth breathing today.
There you go.
All right. Well, William Lindis is here too. He is succulent and sexy. William Lindis, how are you?
Hey, we're back again, baby. So excited to be here for us to review. I mean, not one, not two, not three, not four, not five, but 6 movies today, which is cool. You're right, Jim. Like, a lot has come out. We are in the summer blockbuster season, so a lot of big films have come out. We're also at a time where it's been easy, at least for me, to catch up on a lot of movies. The New York Times recently released their top 100 films of the 21st century list. Rolling Stone just did theirs as sort of a counter argument. Criterion just did a flash sale. So my Letterboxd, we talk about Letterboxd on the show a lot, has been absolutely overflowing the last few weeks, as like I've caught up with new movies and a bunch of older movies too. We're not going to talk about the older movies today, but just it is a good time to be a movie fan on the internet, on the kind of the interwebs, and sort of be connected to any of these communities. Your cup runneth over right now.
Oh, absolutely. And especially with us starting to get into that heart of summer blockbuster season, it seems like a lot of the big, huge films we've been waiting all year for are finally here. Relative to recording, of course, tonight is July 8th. I'm super jealous of the folks who were able to score tickets to the Amazon Prime early showings of Superman. But we'll get to go see it later this week or this weekend. I'm excited for that. But yeah, so much has come out. We have so much to catch you all up on. Like Will mentioned, 6 movies. Guys, spoilers on these, or should we keep them pretty spoiler free? In case folks want to see these, has it been long enough they've been out? Are we good for spoilers? What are your thoughts?
Let's just. My vote is to keep them mostly spoiler free. For now, I don't think we need to spoil anything. We're not going to go super in depth on these because we've got 6 of them to cover. So we're just going to give our impressions, kind of what we liked, what we didn't like, without spoilers. I think that would be good. That would be my vote.
Yeah, they've been out long enough that I don't think we necessarily treat the spoilers like a minefield, but at the same time, like I think hitting the big strokes is more important than anything else. And definitely keep any of the, we won't be, anyone that's listening, we won't be revealing any like big twists or any of those types of moments at all. So, you know, that's the easy promise for us to do. Beyond that, you know, we'll, you know, talk about what we felt about the films, you know, just have a good combo.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those quick little strokes are what get you over the finish line, but we'll definitely focus on those slow big strokes. Okay, anyway, listen, it's been weeks. I have to, you know, inject some lewdness and explicitness into our gumption, right?
Well, of course, you know, you've got weeks of innuendo to catch up on. So, yeah, by all means.
I'm sure these puns have been stacking up. You know what I mean? Like for all these movies. So they're going to come tumbling out.
They probably are. They probably are. Well, speaking of tumbling out, now begins 6 quick succession movie reviews in a nutshell, mostly spoiler free. We're kind of going to go round robin style. So we'll start with Will. Will, if you want to kick us into our first one, then we'll kick it on down to Jim and then me, and then we'll repeat and do our thing from there. What's up first on your list, Will?
Absolutely. So first up on my list is one of the more recent films overall on all of our lists, although I could be wrong. It is 28 years later. This is the third film by Danny Boyle in his 28 blanks later franchise of rage zombies, between 28 days later, 28 weeks later, now 28 years later. The basic plot of this horror thriller is that you've got 28 years after the first of these films, this group of survivors lives in this sort of isolated community that has been set, that they're on this island and they've learned how to survive there over years and years and years at this point. There's quarantines that keep them separated from the other countries, but ultimately what ends up happening is a young man and his father go out into the wild one day, and the boy learns a little bit about what it is to survive, and he decides that he needs to go on a mission to help get a thing that will help a family member in need. This is as much a zombie film as it is a family drama. In fact, I think even more so is it a family drama. You know, if it's wall-to-wall zombie murder action you're looking for, this isn't the right film. But if you want a movie that's about characters going through grief, going through trauma, going through the idea of what it is to kind of move on with your life as you experience these different things, this is the film for you. There's also some very specific pop culture references that are really tied to like UK politics. That may need a little bit of research for US audiences, but I do think they are very substantial and they play a very important role in sort of the overall message of this film. I loved it a lot. It is going to be a divisive horror film in that I think there is a group of people that I think just want, and there's nothing wrong with this, kind of want a kind of like an easy thrills sort of horror film. And there are versions of that exist. This isn't that, and that's okay. There's different types of horror movies for different types of folks, but man, 28 years later really scratched the itch for me. Very exceptionally well done by Danny Boyle and writer Alex Garland.
Yeah, well, we mentioned that how fast movies are coming out, and you've had the opportunity to see a bunch of these movies. I think for us, the experience has been kind of opposite. We've had so many trips, like vacation trips, where we've been locked into vacation plans and that don't include movies, basically. That there's been some releases, some big releases, and this is one of them that we just haven't caught up with yet.
Oh yeah.
It's no, we haven't. So I'm kind of curious, Will, like how it fits in with you. You mentioned that it has a lot of family drama, a lot of interpersonal drama going on. How would it fit, kind of in tone with something like The Last of Us or The Walking Dead, where there's a lot of drama in those shows as well. It's not really just about the zombie action.
Yeah, I do think that there is some tonal overlap with particularly those two properties, right? Because when they are at their best, Walking Dead wasn't always at its best, but when it was more about the people than it was about the zombies, right? And the same with The Last of Us. I think this one here, what it does so compellingly is it keeps sort of the threat of what's happening in the background, but you're not constantly looking for like the next zombie's jump scare like you get with some of these. There are sequences in this that are fairly long sequences of just people talking about their feelings about a very specific thing in impactful and relatable ways. So I think it definitely fits in with those two properties when they are telling their stories at their best.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, especially when you think to the first and second of these films, right? Like it's always a backdrop what's happening. The character drama is really what's front and center here. And I'm really jazzed to see this one. As Jim mentioned, we've been on the go. We saw one movie while we were in Hawaii for a couple weeks, and I'll talk about what that one is here. It's not Lilo and Stitch, spoiler alert.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really glad to hear that you dug this one, Will, and I'm looking forward to catching up with it when we can, for sure.
Yeah, the other thing I'd say that's worth noting here is it's got a good cast. I didn't mention any of them, but Jodie Comer is in this. Aaron Taylor Johnson is unrecognizable. I was watching this movie going, I know him from something, and then it wasn't until about halfway through when I really clocked who it was. And then, of course, Ralph Fiennes is in this and in a very, very cool role. This is the goods. Again, it's going to be divisive because it takes some big swings. And if there's one thing I know about movies like this, big swings don't land with everyone. But I'm the type of person who would rather see a movie make a big swing and go for it than to play something incredibly safe. This movie does not play it safe.
Yeah, well, and I that makes me excited for it because Brad will tell you, I've often on a lot of these zombie movies and shows, I'm like, oh, it's another zombie property. Come on. Like if it's just, people escaping zombies or getting caught by zombies or whatever, it's going to bore me. So I'm definitely looking to see what these big swings are you talk about.
Yeah.
Indeed. All right. Well, Will, thanks so much for kicking us off with your first summer movie. Jim, let's head on over to you. I always feel like you're about to announce the weather or something when I'm like, let's hand it to Jim. What's your first summer movie that you want to share, babe?
The first one I want to share is one that we actually did see twice, even though we didn't see a lot of movies. This is one we actually saw twice, and there's a little bit of a story around that too. But this one is called F1: the movie. This one is it's about it basically revolves around Formula One, and a Formula One is for those of you who aren't that familiar with racing and this form of racing, it's probably the most popular racing league in the world called Formula One or F1. This one is basically, though, if you took Top Gun Maverick, which was incredibly successful, like 3 years ago now, something like that, and you set it instead of against military fighter jets, if you set it against the drama of an F1 racing team and racing, it's kind of like this movie. Now, it's kind of, if so, in that regard, it feels a little, forgive the pun, a little bit formulaic, in that they're kind of copying, pasting, and making some edits. But I think it would be reductive to dismiss this movie that way, because I think this movie is fantastic. It's a great action film. The cast, which includes Brad Pitt in the Tom Cruise role, I mean, as Sonny Hayes, Damson Idris, who's great in here, Javier Bardem, everyone here does great work. Carrie Condon. I want to especially call out Sarah Niles, who I really loved in the role of Bernadette here. But basically, Brad Pitt is playing this aged out racer who fell out of F1 years ago and is just kind of a driver for hire. And he comes in, he gets asked to kind of save this F1 team that has no wins in the last 2 years. So, and the other, if you know even a little bit about F1, you know that each F1 team has two drivers, two cars. And so Brad Pitt is one. He's the old grizzled veteran coming in. And Damson Idris, as Joshua Pierce, is kind of the young, very talented, rough around the edges young gun that's come in. And so there's friction in that right off the bat. I also want to call out, I mean, this film was directed by Joseph Kosinski, who directed Top Gun Maverick. And there's a lot of legit F1, real F1 drivers and people involved in this film to make sure it was very realistic. The action in this movie, I've never seen anything filmed like this. As thrilling as some of the scenes in Top Gun Maverick were, I think they really went crazy on this one. And some of the camera work and this is not CGI stuff. This is real. They put real cameras on real cars, put these actors in these cars, and it's incredibly thrilling to watch. I would recommend people see this while it's out on the biggest screen possible. And as I mentioned, we saw it twice. We saw it the first time on a big Limax screen. The second time we let's go see this in D-Box. So we went to a D-Box one where like the chairs like rumble and vibrate and tilt when you're in the cars. This movie was made for that because there is a lot of racing action here. I loved it. It might end up being one of my favorite films of the year. I know it's definitely a crowd pleaser kind of a movie, and it's not really. If you get away from the cinematography stuff and the action and the way they filmed it, it's not story-wise. It's definitely not breaking any ground here. No new ground, but it is a thrilling film. Everybody does a great job. I think this is one to go see.
All right. Well, thank you so much for jumping into that one, Jim. I went to see this with Jim Will and with you listeners, if you saw it, I guess. And I didn't really have high hopes. I'm not a racing person at all. When my dad would watch racing growing up, I would run out of the room as fast as possible, find the closest Star Trek book, and just hunker down because I knew I had a few hours of time to myself to read. Nowadays, as a 40-something-year-old man of a certain age, when my husband watches racing, I'm on my phone. Maybe I'm reading comics on my iPad. I'm kind of half paying attention, but it never really interests me. It's all noise and fury and people with their asshole egos. But we went to see this movie, and Jim was like, yeah, supposedly it's like Top Gun Maverick meets racing, so it might be good. And I'm like, well, I did see Top Gun Maverick 4 times. So, maybe there's something to that. I fucking loved this movie. I absolutely loved it. And I can pretty much guarantee it's probably going to be in my top 10, if not my top 5 for 2025. I was just really, really surprised. Brad Pitt's performance was really phenomenal. He was so charming and likable and just grounded and believable. I was really shocked. And The action in this is really, really well done. I'm glad we didn't see it in D-Box first, though, babe, because I think like all the shaking and tilt, like that would have taken me out of it. It was seeing it a second time was more like going on a ride than it was like seeing the movie for the first time. So if you haven't seen it yet, and you do have D-Box or whatever your theater chain calls that brand of movie seat, I mean, only you know for sure, but you might want to consider seeing it just in a regular seat first. But Will, I got to tell you, one gamer to another, we got home from this movie, and the first thing I did was buy and download the F1 racing game on my new gaming PC, and it has a VR mode, and so we have been playing with me as the driver in VR. I'm in the car. I'm on that racetrack. It's mostly photorealistic. I'm crashing into shit. And Jim is my race engineer. He is the voice in my right ear telling me, you know, we need to change out your tires, or you need to cut those corners a little sharper. And I totally forget that I'm in our house. I am in that car on that track. And it's pretty fucking incredible. Like, even if you're not a race fan, I think just like being in that car and feeling like you can flick those photorealistic switches, it's a head trip. It is something else.
Yeah, what you need to have Jim do is sort of, when he's doing this, stand behind you with his hands on the chair and sort of shake the chair to the left or right. You know, Jim, you too can be a D-Box.
a J-Box?
A J-Box?
Maybe. What I'm really afraid of, Will, is that, you know, people who get into these games, like gamers who get into these racing games, specifically F1, which has been, they've had one a year for I don't know how many years now. They go fully into it, and they get these like incredibly like complex and probably expensive like wheel controllers and foot pedals and stuff that they put in their homes and on their desk, and like that's what I really fear, is that we're going to end up like having to go buy like this, you know, $3,000 steering wheel or something that has all the controls on it. But yeah, I will say one other thing about this movie. I mean, yes, it's car, you know, racing is basically cars going around a track, and maybe that's what the depth of what people want to think. But the science and the strategy and stuff behind Formula One and racing and these teams, which are basically like small companies, it's so well executed in the movie. It doesn't dumb it down, but it doesn't like make it all go over your head either. So it's I think that's really impressive for a movie like this.
And that's not reductive at all. Every sport is like, every sport sounds ridiculous when you boil it down to like a specific sentence. It's like, oh, football and basketball are just two teams go left and right for an hour and a half with a ball. You know, it's way more than that. It's way more than that. But really, you know, it's just going in circle or going back and forth or whatever. You know, I hit a ball with a stick and I win. You know, when you look at it like that, yeah, it's simplistic, but there's so much more to it. And I think what's cool about movies like this, and I haven't seen it, so I'm just going off of what you guys have said, but movies that, you know, kind of lean into like the passion of these sports, is they open up the door a little bit to people that may not be fans and help them kind of understand a little bit about why fans do appreciate these so much, you know, to the effect of like, you know, Brad probably, as someone who, not to put words in your mouth, but probably did, if we'd asked you, you know, a year ago about racing movies, you might have said, yeah, a car goes around a circle.
That's exactly what I would have said.
And now you understand a little, you know, from this movie, you know, or appreciate, I guess is the better way to put it, just more of like the technical expertise, the timing, the engineering and all of that.
Well,
just from the movie.
And also, I found out F1 is very distinct from like fucking NASCAR. Because F1, the tracks aren't just circles. They're winding through city streets in Vegas and Abu Dhabi, and there's crazy hairpin turns, and it's especially driving those motherfuckers. Holy shit. It is crazy, and it takes so much fucking skill. I just have so much respect for those drivers now. That this movie, and then playing the official game, I think helped spark.
Well, the hardest part is knowing that you can't necessarily always just be the fastest car and be the one that's in first place, because if you get too close to the finish line in first place, you're going to get hit by a blue shell and everyone else is going to go right past you. So you have to time that.
We actually had that very discussion yesterday because Brad's like trying to. He said, "Babe, do you think if I go back and play Mario Kart, it will be good training and practice for F1 driving in the game?" I'm like, yes and no, because like in Mario Kart, don't you have to like avoid banana peels and all kinds of shit like that are thrown on the track? Like
Yeah,
in
you have
F1, you got to
like-
find the exact right racing line, not avoid like obstacles and drive through boxes with dollar signs on them or whatever they are.
Listen.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Will, the F1 game has like these assist modes for new players. You can turn them off as you get better. One of them is the optimal race line, like the path that you should take. Well, Mario Kart doesn't fuck around. It doesn't have that shit. So, Jim, I actually think like avoiding the banana peels and shells and all that stuff is helping me refine my ability to control that car. It was helping me when we played F1 last night. I will tell you what, because I have to find my own line through those curves, and I'm getting to feel maybe the physics of Rainbow Road with, you know, a driver that's a ghost are maybe a little different than F1, but there's
Just
enough
a hair.
there. There's enough there, I think.
But imagine
I
what a haptic feedback steering wheel will give you. You know what I mean?
oh
Like,
my
whoop.
God. I can't wait till you buy one. Let's do it. Let's go.
All right. Well, we'll see.
Awesome. All right. Well, Jim, thank you so much for sharing your summer movie pick number one. My first pick is a film we actually saw while we were on vacation in Hawaii. Jim retired a little while ago, and to celebrate, we went with 6 of our closest friends to enjoy a couple weeks on the North Shore of Oahu. But just because we were on vacation, wahoo, doesn't mean that movie studios weren't on their normal schedule of pushing out their films. And a big one came out while we were over on the island, and because it was written and directed and made from the care and love of our friend Dean DeBlois, How to Train Your Dragon, the live action remake, had to have been seen, and not just by Jim and myself, but we all went. We drove the hour and a half because of traffic back down into town to go to a movie theater in a mall there, which was actually pretty cool. They had some really great food. Anyway, that doesn't matter as much as the movie. But if you're ever thinking about moving to Hawaii, yes, they have movie theaters and they have better food, just FYI. In any event, say what you will about remakes, and I think Disney, with love and respect, has given us a lot to say what we will about remakes, including Lilo and Stitch recently. And while Dean was involved with the original, the live action was in other hands because Dean was making How to Train Your Fucking Dragon to be probably my favorite film of 2025 so far. Man, I'm like getting teary-eyed just thinking about seeing it. We actually saw it in a very large screen. This wasn't like a tiny little movie theater. I mean, it had like a big modern large screen. And we saw it in 3D as well. And the it's in the trailers, the test drive scene where Hiccup and Toothless like take to the skies for real for that first time together. Just had all the joy from the original for me. They changed up some of the music. They made some things better. I was just really afraid, even with all the respect and love that we have for Dean, that like, anytime you translate something like that to live action, right? It's not as easy as just having a computer generate characters flying. I mean, there's some degree of that, but like you're dealing with live actors and like physics of like hair flapping, and shouldn't have worried at all. It was 100% all there. And all the heart in the first one was here. Maybe even notched it up a little bit. It was funny. The folks that we saw it with, half were like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's How to Train Your Dragon again. Whelmed, we got it. The other half of us who unfortunately were split between the two cars that we took. So we're all trying to text back and forth. We're like, oh my fucking God, I love this so much. This was amazing. And these people in this car are complaining about CGI hair, but like, holy shit, did you see, it was wonderful. It was awesome. When we all got back to the house that we were renting together, we all kind of like broke off and we're having a little geek out fest, and went to see this again when we got back from Hawaii with some friends. And unfortunately haven't gotten a chance to see it a third time before some of the other movies came in and took the big screens away, but definitely will be buying this when it's on Blu-ray. I'm just so thankful that this movie was made as live action. It was incredible to see Mason Thames and Nico Parker, Gerard Butler coming back as Stoic the Vast, Nick Frost and Julian Dennison, and more. I mean, they were just so fun and great in these roles. This was such a special treat to be able to see. And for me, last thing, and then I'll get off the pulpit for this movie. I saw the first one about a week after my mom died when it came out, and it was a very like healing soul bomb thing for me. Jim and I saw it while we were down in Michigan for the funeral, down in Indiana, that area, and to then see this movie in Hawaii, where I married the man that I love and I've been with for 16 years. It was like seeing it at the lowest point of my life and seeing it at the highest point of my life. It was such a cool experience. So, Dean, you're probably not watching. You got bigger things to do, but just so much love to you. Thank you for bringing that experience to live action for us. It was amazing.
I hope he is watching, and I hope he does call us and talk about our review of the movie. I mean, I did read that Dean initially was kind of a little bit outspoken against kind of the trend of live action remakes, but then he took on this project to make sure that it was done right, that it was, that it was done correctly, right? So you got this big studio that's saying, we're gonna re-release this, we're gonna do live action. Dean steps in and says, well, it sounds like he stepped in and says, well, if it's gonna be done, it's gonna be done right, and I'm gonna do it and keep true to the the mythology of the first one and the story and the characters. And I think he did. I think it's very, very close to the original. There are hardly any adjustments to the story and characters, very slight. And so, yeah, I think that's pretty impressive that he was able to pull that off.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been pretty, just a little vocal about these Disney live action remakes. I've maybe had a few of them, and this definitely, I think, sort of bucks that trend in that I do think I do see a lot of the passion that I want to see show up on screen here. Not that the individual people working on those Disney remakes aren't doing it with passion, but just the overall final product doesn't always translate that as much, and I think it does here. Now, I will say I'm still like, I'm still more of like, I'm gonna put, if I had the choice between this and the animated one, I'd probably put the animated one on. I think that's still kind of where my where I live and breathe. But I do think that this, especially the young cast here, did a really good job. Nico Parker, Mason Thames is really good in this. Is very good in this. Nico Parker is just someone who we've seen her in The Last of Us. She was in Suncoast with Woody Harrelson last year. She's just someone who is now slowly popping into my to watch radar, and that's exciting to see. I think that she's got. She was also in Dumbo, for what it's worth. But we don't have we don't have to clock that one.
Queen of the Disney remakes.
Yeah. Oh, what a difference 6 years makes, right?
Yeah.
No, I definitely see where you're coming from on this one, Brad. I think that there's a lot of care that went into this, and like I said, that young cast really holds their own, and they didn't have to rely on. I think sometimes with films like this, because you have a Nick Frost or you have a Gerard Butler, you change your story in subtle ways to prop those more established actors up so that they can carry your film, and I did not get the vibe here. You know, the
No.
kids, you know, the young characters in this do all of the heavy lifting. The others are there obviously for storyline reasons, but never at the expense of the story.
For sure. Yeah. So good. All right. Well, we're halfway through, fellas. Our time and our list. We're going to circle back on up to Will, because Will, you have a second summer movie catch-up pick to share with us, and that's actually catch up, not catch up. Believe it or not, somebody messaged last year after we did this show, kind of around the same time for the same reasons, and was like, every time you say catch up, it made me so confused, because I'm like, what does summer catch up have to do with movies? I'm like, no, and in Michigan we say catch up the same way you say catch up. We say catch as catch. So there you go. If you're confused,
if you haven't bought the Movie Bears podcast ketchup brand of ketchup, your hot dogs have been subpar this summer.
And just watch, we've got spicy ketchup coming out in the fall, curry ketchup. We've got a special MBP sweet and sour ketchup. So we've got a few different things that are coming out that I think are going to really whet your appetite as we summer catch up with some of these movies.
I debated whether we should reveal this news, but I guess now's a good time. It's topical. We even have a hot collab coming out with Reba McEntire herself for fancy ketchup.
Fancy ketchup.
It's going to be amazing.
Just look for that fancy XMBP collab.
So that's really what ketchup is all about.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I'm looking at our background, which has like red light on the theater walls right now, and I'm like, oh yeah, ketchup. People are going to be even more confused. Anyway, Will, what's your second movie?
Second movie I've got is one that this was one of my most anticipated films of the year, and it really ended up delivering for me. A movie is called The Life of Chuck. It is based off of a short story, an extended short story by Stephen King. But this is not one of his horror stories. This is a movie that he wrote that really leans more towards, like, you know, heartwarming / life affirming, kind of that genre of film, but with like a sci-fi fantasy twist to it. Mike Flanagan, who has directed a lot of Stephen King things over the last few years, is sort of the script adapter and director here. And the movie is set in 3 different stories told in reverse order. So there's one that sort of happens, and then, like, you know, what happens when that character is younger, and then what happens when that character is younger. And each of these 3 stories are about this dude named Charles Krantz, played by Tom Hiddleston. And we've got a few other people in here that show up. Jacob Tremblay is in this. Chiwetel Ejiofor, Karen Gillan, David Desmalkian. Mark Hamill is very good in this. We have Harvey Guillen here. Harvey's in this. So yeah, the 3 kind of like sub chapters are really based around the first one is set in I guess the most modern / like near future, and it stars the Chiwetel Ejiofor and Karen Gillan as a pair of characters in this world where, you know, our world, but like the internet has gone offline, and things are just slowly decaying and falling apart. And the 2 of them kind of reconnect to kind of experience all of this. Then it flashes while seeing all of these strange posters for the retirement of this guy named Chuck. Then the middle story is about Tom Hiddleston's Chuck. He's walking through on a business trip one day, and he meets a woman, and the 2 of them have an impromptu dance session in a square. And then the previous one is the last chapter is him as a kid, kind of with his grandparents, one of which is Mark Hamill, and sort of learning about dance and such like that. And I'm specifically kind of keeping it to the broad kind of intro points to those, because how these chapters are interlinked and what they're doing is pretty magical. This is a tearjerker of a movie. It's also the type of movie that just makes you like light up with joy. There's a lot of dancing in this film, and it is a joy every single time. One of my favorite scenes of the year is honestly, there's two scenes in this movie that kind of like would possibly kind of rate in that category, and both of them are sequences that involve the character dancing with someone. And for someone that might have watched this and said, what the heck is A Life of Chuck? Oh, I don't want to watch a Stephen King horror movie. This is not that at all. This feels much more, while it's not the same type of story, this feels like it would be comfortable on the shelf next to like Big Fish. If you guys remember the Big Fish movie, sort of the way that it plays with like magical realism, the way that it plays with fantasies, but also like sort of centering it on like real human like drama and emotions and kind of how, and this is the way you feel about life watching that movie. That's what Life of Chuck gave me. It's good. You know, we talk about movies that are probably going to be pretty high on our lists at the end of the year, and that's this one for me, and why I really wanted to celebrate it here.
Yeah, well, we haven't seen it, but I've seen the trailer at least once, maybe twice, and in my mind, I'm like, yes, that looks like a movie that I would really like. You know, one of those kind of slice of life, introspective, you know, films, and yeah, I just haven't had a chance to come see it yet. I hope it's still around in theaters, and I hope it's still around after I get over this crud that I'm experiencing, so I can go see it. But yeah, you mentioned Mark Hamill was in this, and it is a Stephen King property. I also saw a trailer for another Stephen King property that's coming out, which is more of a tense, I don't know if it's a horror, but it's a tense psychological thriller drama called The Long Walk or something like that, that's coming out, and he's also in that. So it looks like Mark Hamill's on riding the Stephen King train right now. But yeah, I'm interested to see this, Will, and you know, I'm a sucker for movies that get into my feelings, and this one looks like that for me.
There's another connection there too, less to the Stephen King side of things and more to the Mike Flanagan side of things. Mark Hamill did last year, 2 years ago. He was in the Fall of the House of Usher, which Mike Flanagan did, which is, by the way, you know, mini plug inside of this plug episode, is a fantastic series. So yeah, there's an interesting little like Flanagan King verse that Hamill seems to be sort of like gravity pulled to the center of right now, and I'm here for it. Hamill's definitely turned into one of those actors who, when he shows up in just about anything nowadays, he steals the show in a good way.
Is he your new movie daddy, Will?
He's my new movie daddy.
Wow.
Grizzled movie daddy.
I do like a grizzled Mark Hamill. Absolutely. He's phenomenal. But Will, this one sounds great. Absolutely on the list. I want to see it as well. Just again, you know, not a lot of time, too much travel. And now, you know, want to see the movie with my baby. I'm not going to see it without him. So we'll wait till he's feeling better. But just thanks for, you know, validating this one being on our radar too. Definitely looking forward to it. All right. Well, Jim, let's move on to you. Once again, you did the weather last time. Now, how about sports? No, just kidding. What is your second?
That was sports. I did sports.
Was actually last time. So maybe now's weather. I don't know. But
maybe.
What is your second movie? We're in suspense.
Oh, my second movie is one that I kept seeing the trailer for. It's a Disney Pixar adventure movie, family adventure movie that I kept seeing the trailer for, and I'm like, the trailer's giving mixed signals. It looks like kind of wacky, zany comedy, but it also looked like it could have some heart to it, some real, you know, legitimate drama and something to say. The name of the movie is called Elio. As I said, it's a Disney Pixar film, and you know, inevitably, when a Disney Pixar movie comes out, everyone's trying to stuff it in a box of like, oh, is this top tier Pixar, or is this you know, middle tier Pixar or lower tier Pixar? And I don't generally tend to do that. I try to take them at face value. This movie's about a kid, a little boy. He's from a broken family. He's been cared for by his aunt, I think, who works like a military job. But the kid is a space fanatic. Like he's way into like space and what's in space, what's in the stars and stuff. And he's got an active imagination, and he ends up finding himself on a cosmic adventure. Where he forms friendships and bonds with alien life forms and navigates this crisis of intergalactic proportions and somehow discover who he is truly meant to be. And I really liked this movie. I wanted to like it a lot more, but it felt like it was, for me, it was good, but it was missing something. And this movie's gotten really good reviews across the board, critic reviews. Didn't do so well box office wise, but I think it opened up against like Lilo and Stitch or something like that. So it was kind of stuck in that mode. Yeah, I like this one. It's got the voice talent of Brad Garrett, Zoe Saldana, and Jonas Kiebrib. It was like I said, it felt like it was missing a little something for me. I'm not going to say you shouldn't see it because I think it's worth seeing. I just felt like it was missing something. And then when I went to look at it, I did a little research on this film. And it turns out after the film did not perform very well at the box office, which sometimes happens with these movies, some of the creators came forth and spilled beans about the film after the fact. And one of the things that really bugged me was that the film kind of leaned into a possible LGBT angle, or that Leo, the boy in this, may have had some like queer coding, or the story had queer coding in it. But in screenings, executives basically told the makers to remove all of it and take it out. And it really bugs the shit out of me when they do that. We got a fantastic movie like 3 or 4 years ago called Luca. If you saw it, it was very much, in my mind, queer coded. If you've seen that movie, you know what I'm talking about, right? It's these kids. They don't have a romantic, God forbid, like any kind of sexual content, nothing like that. But it was about friendship, and it was about otherness, and it was about finding a place where you belong. And I thought this movie might lean into some of that a little bit, and then come to find out that there was some of that in here that they had to take out because of the studio just kind of frosts me a little bit. And that's probably the thing, the more of the heart of this movie that was missing. Babe, there's a scene that they took out where the kid's on the beach. If you remember, there's a scene of him on the beach trying to contact aliens. And during that scene, he's out like beach combing, and he's collecting all this stuff. And he's making a pink tank top for himself, and he calls it his trash and show. You know what I mean? And he's like, it sounds amazing, right? But they no, we can't have that. Can't have that. You can't wear a pink tank top. But yeah, just a little bit lesser than what it could have been. I still think it's a good movie to see. Somewhere, I give them high marks for at least trying something original, right? With all the remakes and stuff we watch, this is an original story. They're trying to make something that hasn't been a story that really hasn't been made before. It's about a kid who's a space fanatic. When I was a little boy, I was a space fanatic. I read books about like what space is, what the planets are, what the stars are, how to be an astronaut, all that stuff. Like I was fascinated with that. And so I definitely identified with the kid in this. I just wish they hadn't pulled any punches on rounding out the character a little bit more the way they intended to.
Yeah, I know you were really excited for this one, and I'm so glad that we got a chance to see this together and kind of check out sort of an original story, right, from this this era of remakes and sequels, right? It seems like a lot of the time we're like, oh, geez, like why can't we just see a new story? And this definitely helped to deliver some of that. I will say though, this actually reminded me a lot in some very good ways and in some not as good ways of a beloved movie from the 80s that I loved called Explorers. Will, I don't know if you saw that one when you were growing up as
I
a
remember
kid.
Explorers. Yeah.
Yep. But these kids end up in space and interacting aliens and get caught up in things that are going on. And Elio had a lot of vibes from that. But why that's a good thing, I think, is this is a whole new generation of kids that are probably never going to watch that movie. And so to see some of those fun themes about how, like, without spoiling the film, of course, like wholesomeness and friendship and cooperation can get you through anything and help save the day potentially. Those are great messages, and they don't have to be, told by the 12th Toy Story movie, right? It's unfortunate and not really surprising knowing the trend with some of the queer coded stuff in some other films that have been removed or tweaked, or that stuff was stripped from this one. It is unfortunate, but the Elio character is likable. And also, I didn't even think about this, but a friend of mine from high school told me that her son absolutely loved the movie because Elio had an eye patch, just like he did, and he'd never seen another kid have an eye patch. And so to see a movie where at 6 years old he felt so seen and so represented was just like transcendent for him. So I love that this movie exists. I'm so glad that so many are enjoying it. And I know your would-be space explorer heart, babe. I know this trips some triggers for you. I won't spoil anything. I'll just say there's a Star Trek connection here that made me so fucking happy that I'm really thankful to this movie for. So I'll leave it at that. But
yeah. Cool.
Yeah, this is another one that we didn't get a chance to go see. It's too many movies out at the exact same time. This hit while we were in New York, and we went and saw something else instead. The challenge with some of these is that this is the hard part about streaming. A lot of times when a movie hits theaters, you don't know when or how you're going to be able to see it later. And so that makes it easier to schedule, like, well, I need to go see this because I don't know. Some of these Disney movies, are going to be hitting Disney Plus within, like 60 or so days after the final theatrical. And so it becomes, unfortunately, easier to say, like, well, I'll just catch this one on streaming, which is what we did. I do want to see this one quite a bit. It's just hits during a packed summer.
Yeah, it definitely does, for sure.
Yeah, and we a lot of times we'll grouse, and I'll be one of the loudest ones to complain about all the sequels and live action remakes and all that stuff.
I wasn't talking about you at all when I mentioned those people, Jim.
No, I know you weren't, but I'm self-aware enough to know that what I like and don't like, and sometimes I'm a little too vocal about that stuff. But that just means that when an original story is put out by one of these companies that could easily go back and remake something that they've already done and probably make a ton of money, and they try to do something original for an audience and try to gain an audience, I feel like it's, I just feel like I want to support that, so
for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think that you're not alone. Like I said, I've certainly heard that complaint or that thought from a lot of people. And a lot of kids are really enjoying the heck out of seeing this movie. So that's something to remember too, right? Like at the end of the day, this movie is more for them than it is for us. They might be a better, maybe not a barometer, because, separation of all that. But
we're the barometer.
We're the barometer, but they might be the barometer, for is this good or not? So
I think we're, as a consumer society, we're now trained to go for the familiar, right? And this is why places like McDonald's and Taco Bell and Burger King and everything else are, that's what families do. They go and they grab something, they know what they're going to get every time, and it's the same thing every time. They don't seem to get tired of it. But if Charlie's Burgers opens up, next door, and they have a great menu and they have good stuff at similar prices, they're probably not going to make it. And that's kind of a sad reality.
You know what's also
our
a sad
society.
reality?
Yeah.
I've never, speaking of feeling seen, I've never felt so seen as someone addicted to going to Bennigan's over new places when Bennigan's was a thing as I do right now. It's exactly what you're talking about. Friends would be like, I was in college at the time, and they're like, oh, let's go to Gumby's Pizza. It's this cool, out-of-the-wall, independent, whatever. And I'm like, but Bennigan's has the Monte Cristo, and I know I'm going to like that.
I knew you were going to say Monte Cristo.
Did you?
When I think Bennigan's, the only thing I remember off the menu was the Monte Cristo. So I was like, I wonder if that's what he's going to mention.
It's amazing where these conversations take us. It really is.
I know.
Bennigan's Monte Cristo. That's what we'll name the episode.
It reinforces for me, Will, why I fucking love you and why it's so fun to be in your orbit. Jim, thank you again for your second summer movie catch up. Did I say it the way normal people say it?
Jim, how do you say it? How do you say catch up? Because
catch up.
You've got it. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to compare Midwest versus
I don't know.
Regional
when I was growing up, we would say let's play catch, and it sounds like catch, not So if you say catch and you say ketchup, it's basically the same as the food ketchup, right?
Okay,
let's play catch. Not let's play catch. We would
Please,
say
sir,
let's play catch.
I should like to go outside and play catch.
No.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. I feel seen again because it's like, you play catch. Let's catch up, not spurt tomato all over things. Anyway,
which you can if you go to Charlie's Burgers.
I hear they have that new artisanal fancy Movie Bears podcast catch up there.
The fancy
worth the trip.
MBP. Yep.
worth the trip.
All right. Last summer movie catch up pick is from me. And this is a film that is a sequel. So I'm going back to the familiar here. But the first one was so much dang fun. And when I saw the trailer for the second one, and then the second trailer and the third trailer for the second one, I was just more and more in with every moment. It is Megan 2.0, our favorite murder bot. This movie is really controversial right now because a lot of people who loved the horror aspects of the first one are really let down that the second one is more of like a sci-fi action, query, campy romp rather than like a horror film. And a lot of people are saying, I feel really misled because like Megan's a horror movie, but like, I don't think any of the trailers I saw really build it as a horror movie. Like the trailers are like, Megan is reactivated to go after another evil robot, and then the evil robots are going to fight and have an evil robot off, and they're going to look fabulous and dance while they do it. And I think we got that and more. So for me, it's definitely larger scale. It's not, creepy horror necessarily. Although there are a few sequences that incorporate some of that. So you get it to some degree. But I just loved that this kind of took the queerest and the craziest parts of the original Megan and dialed them up to an 11. It's in the trailer. The wingsuit scene is my favorite, like Tom Cruise stunt that didn't involve Tom Cruise of 2025. And this was just really great. And without spoiling it, I'll just say there's a really great like 80s car related reference that just made me super, super happy inside. So Megan 2.0 really kind of stole the show for me. My three big films that I wanted to see this summer were How to Train Your Dragon. Thank you again, Dean. Megan 2.0, and of course, James Gunn's Superman, which is, coming up later this week. I know Fantastic Four is coming as well. I'm excited for that. But sort of my sassy, like gay inner self was most looking forward to Megan. And hold on to your vaginas. She totally delivered.
Yeah, so a couple of things. So first of all, Violet McGraw, who plays Katie in this series, she's having a hell of a year. I didn't mention this because she isn't as big of some of the other names like Mark Hamill that I mentioned before, but she has a not insignificant role in Life of Chuck. So she showed up in 2 of our movies so far, and she also played the young version of Yelena in Thunderbolts. So she has been in a few things this year, so I'm pretty excited for her. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. This movie never really pitched itself as a full-on horror movie. I got the vibe that it was a sci-fi action superhero movie, kind of based off of the vibe from the trailer. And I think that's what we got. It's sassy, it's campy. I think my only knock against the film is pretty light. I wanted it to be sassier and queerer. That's the thing that I would have liked a little bit more. Kind of like I know we go to this well a little bit, but the Saturday Night Live sketch with Aubrey Plaza and Bowen Yang, where they really lean into what's up, you homos. She has a few lines like that, I think, when she comes in and she says, what's up, meat sacks? Like, I felt it. When the hold on to your vaginas. I just wanted more like dripping with acid and cut you to the bone, like one-liners. That's what I wanted a little bit more of, because I think that's where Megan is at her best. Not when she's slashing you with the knife, but when she's slashing you with her words.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a moment in one of the trailers, and I don't know how much to say, but in the trailer there's this like very obviously like gay chub guy who's like, I know she's murdered people, but she's my fucking, like siren queen. And I kind of love that aspect. Not that we should worship people for murdering people, because that's terrible, but that reminded me, Will, of that SNL skit for sure.
Yeah, well, I did like this movie, but I was surprised a little bit at I wanted to spend more time, like you will, like laughing and getting a kick out of her being the sassy, murder robot when she turns into that. Instead of trying to figure out, okay, who's Megan now? Is it Megan? Is it the other robot? Is it like, I don't know. It was too, it seemed like they convoluted the plot a lot in this film. At times it was kind of hard to follow, like who was doing what to who, this company. And I think that obscured the essence of Megan a little bit, or at least what I wanted to be the essence of Megan. But yeah, I wish they had leaned into some of that shit, that comedy stuff, or the sharpness of the dialogue a little bit more.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. But I mean, we did get Terminator 2 with Jermaine Clement, basically, right? So like,
oh God, I like Jermaine Clement. I like a lot of the stuff he does. Oh man, the role he has in here is just kind of crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was. I just saw him in something else that was like. Minecraft movie. That's what I was thinking. I remember seeing it in something else that was good. So one person I really liked in this was Aristotle Atari, who he played the character Christian, who So I first saw him. He was a featured player on Saturday Night Live. And he did that for a couple of years. He wasn't on it for super long. And then the next thing we saw him in was Mike and Molly in the Future as one of the two.
Yes.
Did that. Yep. He's another guy who, when I saw him show up in this, I never quite, because the Saturday Night Live to this pipeline, a lot of people come off Saturday Night Live and they go into like a very specific style of making comedies. And Mike and Molly was in some ways had some comedic elements, and this obviously has some comedy elements too, but it's not quite the same. So watching his trajectory has just been interesting to me, because I don't quite know what he's going to do next, if that makes sense. Yeah, it's not like like a Will Ferrell or a Kristen Wiig or a Melissa McCarthy. Not Melissa McCarthy. can't remember her name, but anyways,
Yeah.
they come off of Saturday Night Live, and the first couple of films they do are like comedic, like SNL themed movies before they start figuring out their path. He's already kind of distanced himself from that into a different path.
Yeah. There is a scene in this movie, I will not spoil it, but there is a scene in this movie that had us rolling with laughter, like kind of came out of nowhere. And it's funny because after the movie, we're like, I came out and said, wasn't that scene utterly fucking ridiculous? And that's why I was laughing. And Brad's like, it was utterly great. I loved it. And that's why I was laughing.
Yeah.
Like, we were laughing for different reasons. Will, you might know what scene it is. I don't know. But people in our audience just started breaking out laughing at this scene.
Give me some context clues. Oh, okay.
Yeah. That's all I got. But yes, it was ridiculous in all the best ways. And
I will take care of you, whatever.
I can't wait. I can't wait until this movie is out and I can like find a video of that online and like be able to watch that whenever I want. It's amazing. Anyway. All right. Well, this has been a great discussion. We have caught up with 6 different films. It is only July 8th, 2025. The summer films are really just getting started. We've got Superman coming later this week. We've got Fantastic Four, First Steps coming. Will, your crypto that you just had flying across the screen is so fucking cute.
Something tells me Crypto's going to be the breakout star of this movie.
Maybe
something tells me this.
Crypto also has a super good ongoing title that just launched too. First issue. Yeah, first issue came out like 2 weeks ago. I thought it was going to be a one shot.
Okay,
and it's good. It's good. So,
nice.
Yeah, you should get it.
I will check that out immediately.
And listen, I know some people are in early screenings of this movie, like starting like right now at the time we're recording this. If any of you MFers go online with spoilers, there's going to be hell to pay. I'll bring the rain. I'll bring the storm next episode.
Yeah, I'm pretty much I think going to stay off social media the next couple days till we can see it as much as possible. But I'll give you a quick calendar update for us. Speaking of Superman and Fantastic Four, and then we'll let people know how they can chat with us. We're off again next week. I know. You're like, oh, you just came back. Will's going to be traveling, and we've got some stuff going on here too. But then we're going to be back in the saddle for a couple weeks with Superman on July 22nd. That'll give folks a couple, week and a half, right? To see that one. We're really, really excited, guys. I just got confirmation. One of our favorite people to have on the show, Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast, is going to be here with us. Fuck yeah, Bill Z. It's going to be amazing.
That's the best thing about that. Yes.
Right?
You know what the second best thing is? You'll have time to see the movie about 8 times.
Yeah.
Well, I hope it's good enough that I want to see it 8 times. We have tickets for Thursday and for Saturday. So we wanted to go with some friends, but they work, and so they couldn't go opening night. And we're like, well, am I kidding? I have to go opening night. So we're going to see it at least twice, I know. But yeah, and then July 29th, Fantastic Four, First Steps. Looking forward to seeing that and talking about that. So just putting that on y'all's radar. But if you want to chat with us about Superman, Fantastic Four, any of the 6 films we talked about, or any other fucking movie, let's let people know how they can get in touch. Jim, how can people find you online?
I'm on Letterboxd at JJP Out West. That's my name there, JJP Out West. And that's where you'll find my movie diary of everything I've watched and my ratings and sometimes snarky reviews. I'll also find me on Facebook under Jim Pugliafico.
All right. Thank you so much, sweetheart. And Will, how about your handsome self?
Yeah, you can catch me on Facebook as well. Just look for William Lindis. And then I'm on Letterboxd. Look for the Movie Bear. I've got lists and reviews there. One of the things I'm doing right now is the New York Times released that 100 best films of the 21st century list. I mentioned it at the top of the show. And so there were a couple of gaps that I had in my viewing. So I thought, well, let's close those gaps. So my goal is to, I mean, definitely by the end of the month, but probably much sooner, have that list completely zeroed out. So follow along on that journey, and let me follow along on whatever film journey you're on.
Yeah, we'll definitely get those holes filled, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like fill those holes in as much, like really just pack those holes full of as much like awesomeness as you can from that list of movies from the New York
Of
Times,
movies.
of course,
Of
right?
movies,
Yeah,
yes.
that's
Yeah.
what we were talking. That's totally what we were talking. Like all that creamy movie goodness. Make sure it gets in your
Keep our
holes.
PG
Oh, my.
rating here.
Yeah.
Actually, we have an E for explicit.
PG
so-
stands for pretty gay.
Right. Oh goodness.
Holes will be filled. Yeah.
I love you guys so much. You can find me on Facebook. Just look for Bradley Harris. Little easier to find me that way. You can also find me on Letterboxd at iBradPro. This is like 3.5 years, Will, I think, that I've been rating movies now. And every time I rate a movie, I think of you. It's like, Will's the one who got me started doing this. And so, you can probably thank Letterboxd for a couple of years of a pro subscription. Well, if they ever come, knocking at your door, like, let them know, like you got them some money.
They owe me. I feel like for all that I've evangelized and all of that, I think they owe me at least a shirt with like the 3 dots on it. Like I think that's not an unfair thing for me to angle for, right?
There you go. Letterboxd, if you're listening. I'm sure you're not. But maybe a t-shirt for Will, an $8
I want a
t-shirt
shirt. Yeah. Yeah. My bar is low. My bar is low.
Not only does he have holes, he's easy.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, this has been phenomenally fun. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in. We have some folks in the background who are hanging out with us. If you want to share some of your top films of the summer so far, let us know what they are. Comment on this video on YouTube or Facebook. Look us up on Twitter at MB Podcast. We'd love to hear from you. Otherwise, we will see you in a couple weeks again on July 22nd for our review of James Gunn's Superman with Bill Zanowitz from the Comic Book Bears podcast. You're not going to want to miss that episode, and you're not going to want to miss Bill, because holy fuck, he is sexy, super knowledgeable, and just a really good guy. So be sure to tune in. We'll see y'all later. Take care.
Can't wait.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.